All right, it looks like the majority of you are not that familiar with dashboards, so this is a good workshop to begin with and actually get your feet wet. Before we log into WinSPC proper, I just want to answer the main question, that is, what is a dashboard? In WinSPC's world, a dashboard is a summary of many different products and/or processes on a single screen. That summary is typically comprised of a combination of charts and/or statistics. It can be refreshed at a set interval of time, for instance, maybe once every minute or so. And in many cases, users can interact with the data, drilling down for more information or digging in deeper. Let's launch into WinSPC, and we'll take a look at a few live examples of a dashboard. So we display or run a dashboard by right-clicking on a part or a folder or a data set and selecting the View As option. So we're bringing up an example of one of the dashboards that we're going to build today. This particular one displays several control charts, one control chart for each variable. And if I want to see more information about one of these particular variables, I simply click on its chart and drill down, and in this case I'm bringing up the variable analyzer window for that particular variable. A dashboard can be laid out in many different ways using a variety of charting components. Now let's take a look at another one, a slightly more complex example. We're going to, again, right-click, select View As, and choose our dashboard. This particular dashboard demonstrates two of the new components that have been added to the WinSPC product, a dial indicator and a pie chart. The dial indicators here on the left are monitoring CPK for each variable, and the pie chart on the right is showing me the assignable causes across all variables. There are dozens of pre-configured dashboards included in your upgrade to version 9, and I'm going to demonstrate or show a few of them to you at the very end of this presentation. But right now what I'd like to do is show you how you can create your own dashboard using the dashboard editor that's built into WinSPC. Before we start, I just want to point out that all the dashboard features are located on the main tree structure of the WinSPC administrator window. Just like other tree objects, you can create folders and nested folders to organize the dashboards. You can cut, copy, paste, and delete by right-clicking on an object. And you can also export dashboards and share them with other sites or plants within your organization. All right, let's create a new dashboard by right-clicking in a folder, selecting New, and giving it a name. Once we've named our dashboard, then we're going to double-click on it to edit it. And what appears is the dashboard designer or editor. And in here, you'll see that it's comprised of three main areas. On the right is the preview area, and it's where we're going to start in a moment when we click to add components. In the upper left-hand corner is a list of components used in our dashboard. And in the lower left-hand corner are the properties or actions that we'll use to customize the look and feel of the dashboard. We'll look at each of these in more detail in a moment, but for now, let's start by creating a simple dashboard by first clicking where it says Click to Configure. And what appears is the Dashboard Component Selector. This window is broken into two sections. The section on the top contains the organizational components, which are used to group things. There are a variety of options to choose from, including splits, grids, labels, and single views, and we'll touch on some of those in a moment. And below in the bottom are the multivariate components that are used to summarize multiple variables or multiple attributes. There's also an Actions button that can be used to launch reports right from the dashboard itself. Let's start by selecting a variable grid as our organization. A variable grid is going to give us one box per variable. And once we make our selection, we'll see a representation of what that looks like in our preview pane. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click into the cell of the grid and select a component that will be used within that particular grid. Notice that the choices of organization components and visualizations have changed. The choices are based on the area of the dashboard that I'm trying to configure. For this example, let's choose a chart visualization. All right, at this point, I am technically done. I have created my first dashboard, and to prove it, I'm going to show you what it looks like by exiting and saving this dashboard, then right-clicking on a folder within my admin screen, selecting View As, and choosing the dashboard, and voila, you'll notice that I have a dashboard. Now, this particular dashboard, and all dashboards for that matter, are dynamically producing the number of charts needed depending on the folder or the part that I've selected. So if this particular folder had contained 100 different variables, I'd be looking at 100 different charts at this moment. All right, well, that was pretty simple. Let's go back to editing that particular dashboard, and we're going to make some changes to its behavior. Right now, it's just a static view of the data. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select a component in the upper left-hand window and edit its properties in the Actions window in the lower left. So we're going to start by first selecting the dashboard itself and changing the property for border style to be maximized. Now, whenever we launch or open this dashboard, it's going to default to full screen mode. Unlike before, you saw it was in a minimized window. Next, let's change the properties of the variable chart. So I'm going to select variable chart in the upper left-hand window, and its properties are now displayed below in the lower left. I want to change the default chart type on this screen from an X bar and R chart to an X and moving range. So I select that field, and from a drop-down list, choose the appropriate chart. If I wanted to, I could further filter the data that's being displayed on this chart by selecting a data filter. Some of the common options include I could restrict it to a specific date range, say this week, specific tag entries, or even a specific user. For this particular example, I'm not going to do any data filtering. What I am going to do, however, is I'm going to change my chart scheme. Chart schemes were first introduced in version 8. I'm not sure if any of you have been using them. They've been greatly enhanced in version 9 of WinSPC. Through chart schemes, I'm able to display just a single chart, such as an individual's chart shown here, instead of a combo view.
Yeah, just a sample use case on that, Frank and everyone. You might have chart schemes you design specifically for dashboards that show things like this in a single view with a set number of data points or certain limits turned on or off. You might have other chart schemes that you use for variable analyzer and others for the report templates. So you can make up as many as you need and have different defaults depending on how you're going to use them.
You can also make changes to the fonts, the font sizes, colors, and many other chart properties within the chart schemes themselves. All right, now let's add some actions to this dashboard by moving to the Actions tab. There are a variety of actions that we can detect, such as when an operator clicks on a band or when they click on a chart. In fact, let's change that. Let's change the chart clicked action to open the variable analyzer. I could have chosen to launch another dashboard or view a report when they click on the chart, but for this example, we're going to stick to the variable analyzer. I can also configure data-driven actions that are dependent on the measurements or the data within the control charts. There are some pretty unique features here which have never been available in WinSPC before, such as detecting the absence of data. In other words, if no data has been collected after a certain period of time, say in the last couple of hours, do something. For example, I could send an email notification or change the color of the chart to gray. I could react to changes in a statistical value like CP or CPK dropping below a certain numeric value. I could also look for violations in the data, and when I see a violation, do something. In this case, I'm going to look for a violation and I'm going to highlight the panel by changing its background color to red. There are some other pretty unique features here, such as saving a report to a folder on your network. In a way, this is like a report scheduler that you can use to create reports whenever you have a data violation or have collected new data. Or you could have an email automatically sent to you with the report attached. All of these rules and actions give managers a much broader way to monitor data collection activities. And keep in mind, these actions that we're editing here work in addition to the control test templates that you're using during your data collection activities. Okay, let's take a look at this dashboard in action here. Remember, red charts indicate out of control conditions. So when I pop up my chart, I see some of the cells are red, and now I'm going to click on one of them to drill down and investigate further. The chart clicked action brings up the variable analyzer window. So in just a few minutes, I've configured and set up a dashboard that I could use out in my plant floor. Not bad for our very first dashboard. Let's take a swipe at creating slightly more complex dashboards here. So we're going to create a new dashboard first by selecting or selecting new and giving it a name. And then I double click on it just like I did before to edit. So this particular dashboard, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use split screen mode to create essentially mini dashboards inside of one larger dashboard. To start, in the way we start with all dashboards, is I click on the Click to Configure option on the panel to the right, and I'm going to select a split panel layout. Under Properties for this particular layout, I'm going to change it from a left-right orientation to a top and bottom orientation. And now I'm going to click in the top window and choose the split layout again, further subdividing it. The three-panel view that you see on the window is what my dashboard is going to look like. And within each of these panels, I'm going to display or select different charting components. Let's start by editing the leftmost panel first and look at some of the various components that we have. My goal for this area, just to give everybody an idea of what I intend, is to display a grid of dial indicators that show CPK values for each variable. So to start with, I'm going to add a variable grid, and within that grid, I'm going to select a gauge to display. Now we're going to need to customize the dial to monitor for different ranges of CPK, and there are many different settings to choose from. Let's start by first changing the gauge value itself to be CPK. Next, we're going to change the scaling options on our dial to show three different ranges for CPK. Let's add a 0 to 1 range, and we're going to change its color to red, because that's not a very good CPK. We're going to create and select a 1 to 1.33 range and change its color value to yellow. Get a little bit better there. And then we're going to select or create a 1.33 to 2 range and change its color to green. That's the sweet spot for CPK. We're also going to tweak the font sizes here just to make it a little bit more pleasing to the eye, a little bit more legible on the screen. And now in the second window to the right, let's select a multivariate chart component, and we're going to change its chart type to a pie chart of assignable causes. And as you can see, there are many charts to choose from. And then in the lower window, we're going to choose another multivariate chart. In this example, we're going to select box plot. And there we have a visual representation of what our dashboard is going to look like. Let's test it. So we're going to click OK to save it. We're going to go back to our admin window, select a folder, right-click, choose View As, and choose the dashboard. And there you have a slightly more complex dashboard. We're looking at dial indicators on the left of CPK, giving a status of how capable our individual variables are behaving. To the right, we see our signable causes, and we can get an idea of what is our number one or top offender. And then down below, we see a box plot of all the different variables that we're looking at and their variation. And typically, if we zero in on the particular variable that has the most variation, that's probably the variable that has the number one assignable causes. So not bad. In just a few minutes here, we've created two custom dashboards. One that we might use as a big monitor display out on the plant floor so that everyone can see how's production doing today, for example. The other we might give to engineers or managers who are doing quality studies or investigating quality issues. Let's take a peek now, though, at some of the dashboards that are included in WinSPC proper. So when the dashboard feature is installed, there are a couple of dozen that you can choose from right out of the gate. And just to give you an example, there's a histogram and stats dashboard. We'll take a look at that one first. This particular dashboard is displaying a histogram for each variable. And then across the top of those histograms, you see a running statistics. So at a glance, I can see the distribution of my data, which ones have a tight or a wide variation, and how they're performing.
And as you saw in the setup, in the properties, you could easily change this stat in this template from CPK to a different stat, like an average or a cost of process variability measurement, to get added to your dashboard.
Another one is a chart matrix with data tables. This is going to give me a visualization of charts, which you've already seen once before. But on the bottom of the screen, it's going to be a data table.
Yeah, this breaks down your variables by row, one variable per row. You could have filters in the other columns where you can see maybe the last reading that was captured, the number of total readings during a filtered period of time, and the number out of spec. Even these individual boxes within the table, the cells, could be flashing red if this is outside a normal range or violates a rule.
And the last dashboard that I want to show you today is a comparison type dashboard. So we can actually compare your most recent data to historical data, maybe this week to last week or this month to last month. By looking at your data from a historical comparison, you can see how you're performing or behaving against past performance.
So a good way to get started might be to explore some of the templates that are here through this simple right-click View As. Test them out with your data. They're live. They're available immediately once you start using version 9. And then you can always go back and make a copy of a dashboard and modify it. You could add other elements to it, make a test or a sandbox for other people to build their own.
That's a very good point, Brad. This is concluding our intro to creating and editing dashboards. And my advice that I'd like to give to everybody that's on the line at this moment is to just jump in with both feet. Create a dashboard of your own, experiment with the different options, play with it. The help system that's within WinSPC will explain and give you much more information on how to create the dashboard and what the various options are. There's chapters in the WinSPC training manual that will also walk you through the task. And as always, you can certainly contact our technical support group and field questions through that or ask your questions through them. Speaking of questions, I'm going to take a few questions now, but for those that don't wish to stay around for the Q&A portion, I just want to quickly thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules and participating in today's workshop. We plan on offering more of these in the future, probably once every other month or so, so be on the lookout for an announcement for the next event. And by the way, when you do leave today's meeting, you're going to be getting a brief survey. What I would ask you to do is please take a few minutes to fill that out. It'll help us get a better understanding of what topics are important to you and which ones that we can prepare future webinars for. So let me take a look at a couple questions. One of the questions is this a separate module to WinSPC, and if so, how much does it cost? It is not a separate module. The dashboards are included in your upgrade to version 9. So if you have a current maintenance or ESC contract with DataNet, with WinSPC, you will get these dashboards automatically. There is no additional cost. Can dashboards monitor data collected across other stations? Yes, yeah, that's an actual very good use case and one of the intentions of us developing the dashboard feature. You can use dashboards to monitor data upstream and downstream from your location. And if you happen to be an operator who's collecting data, that's a nice use case. And I guess related to that, the next question is, can you only get a dashboard through the administrator's window? No, you can actually set up WinSPC so that when the user logs in, it automatically launches into your dashboard, which is probably how you're going to do it if you have a giant big screen monitor in the middle of your plant and you're just going to want to launch it automatically. Or you can link it within a collection plan in a navigator window so that an operator, as they're collecting data, could click on a button and bring up a dashboard in the middle of their data entry window and be monitoring data collected at another station, as we just mentioned a moment ago.
Yeah, I just showed an example on screen if you're watching where I right-clicked on a collection plan from the navigator screen and brought up a dashboard right from there. You could even have multiple sessions of WinSPC running on a station, one session doing your normal activities, another session with a dashboard, always open, giving you your updates either on a timer or some type of refresh. Another good use case is combining a dashboard with a data set. You may have saw that a moment ago in the station login. Dashboards can run on top of data sets, so you get all the power of the filtering in a data set that can derive what are the appropriate variables to be showing in the dashboard. Like have a data set that shows any variable that had violations today or this week. The dashboard will build based on those variables that meet that criteria and show you those results.
Some other quick questions that we have here. What version were dashboards introduced? They were introduced in version 9. So if by chance you've upgraded to version 9 already, you have dashboards installed. Does dashboards replace Plant Monitor? That's a good question. It doesn't replace Plant Monitor as much as it supplements it. So Plant Monitor is considered a dashboard. It's a summary-like view, but the formal dashboards that we just walked through today are much more powerful and provide you additional activities that you can customize and you can set up on your own. But Plant Monitor is still in the product, and you still have access to it.
Yeah, a nice feature within Plant Monitor is that you can still acknowledge variables and violations with the click and the drill down. And a lot of our customers use it that way as a kind of a way to sign off on events as they occur.
Somebody had asked if there's, because we're recording the session, and they asked if this recording can be viewed afterwards. Yes, once we're done with today's session, we're going to package up the recording and make it available to everybody on our website. Can dashboards be updated automatically? Yes, you can actually set it up so that dashboards are updated based on a timer. So as an example, you might say once a minute refresh the dashboard, or once an hour. By refreshing the dashboard at whatever interval time that you select, it is giving you real-time information.
Yeah, that's a good example of using a data set. As you may have seen in the data set configuration, you can set a refresh timer. So by running a dashboard off a data set, it's going to be automatically updating at that interval you specify in the data set.
Another question was, can attributes be used in dashboards? Although we focused on variable data for today's session, you can actually use both attributes and variable data, either in separate dashboards or mixed within the same dashboard. Another question that just came in was, is there going to be a calendar for future workshops? Yes, we're still putting the workshop calendar together, and we're still working on the content, but as soon as we have that, again, we'll make it available to everybody on our website. I don't know if anybody follows us on our social media sites, but I would encourage you to check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn. Those are the most common ones, and again, we'll be posting the information there. A question came in asking, can you be viewing dashboards at the same time as data is being collected? Yes, you can actually have a kind of a dashboard window maybe off to the right or off to the side, and then on your left-hand area of the window be collecting data and be using maybe spreadsheet mode or blueprint mode, whatever mode you happen to be using. You could, if you wanted to, be monitoring your data that you're collecting within a dashboard. I guess that's certainly a use case, but most of the people that are using dashboards today are using it to monitor other data collection stations, either upstream or downstream from where that operator is at.
I think that's our time for today. We've tried to get to all the questions. We'll hold on to these. If there's others that come in, we'll keep the session open for a moment. But we're going to conclude just by saying thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you taking time out to participate with us here today. Hopefully this gets you on the path to start using dashboards, but please reach out to myself or our support team or Frank if you have questions or if you want to share ideas on different uses there. Be glad to get involved with you. But thanks, everyone. Have a good Friday. Bye-bye.